Talk to him tonight. He lived in Res with me my first year. He was vice president and president when we actually won Winter Carnival that year. And he's been through everything with Winter Carnival. He was 6 years in Res. I think they won 5 of them. He's been a big volunteer. So, Poncho, great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, what did I miss there? Tell us about your history with Winter Carnival.
Well, we started as first years in residence and went through learning all the ranks and everything right from the very first day. They start preaching to you how important it's all going to be. You hear about Winter Carnival during orientation week more than you hear about orientation. We, as a team, built and continued through. We managed to win almost every single one of the Winter Carnivals that we went through while I was living on campus. We lost one Winter Carnival, I think.
Yeah.
I think the actual standing record is that our house had won 25 of the last 29 Winter Carnivals.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, because I was very impressed and happy to be where I was.
And of course, after my last year in residence and my stint on exec, we moved into the off-campus group, but we were heavily involved. You guys were all there as well. We volunteered with all the events and made ourselves as involved as we could from another perspective, just to really round out our Winter Carnival experience while in our time at Memorial. Yeah. We've been involved in a significant amount of Winter Carnival over the years.
And it's cool because you're able to migrate away from not being involved just solely in the residence side of it, but you did do your time on the coordination side of it as well. So that's really good. Sorry, what?
Just go closer to the mic.
Okay, cool. So I guess my question, because I never lived in this residence, this incredibly successful Winter Carnival residence. So, and as you said, it for you it seemed to have started in that first week of orientation that you first joined. So what is the Winter Carnival team made of? How does the house participate? And what is the basically the timeline between when you begin prepping for Winter Carnival and that final show?
Well, realistically, Winter Carnival prep starts the day that you move back second semester. You should really be working on stuff right from the very beginning. It's like you may have to work in late night practices in order to get everything in. You have to build teams to do the different events, but right from the very first day that you meet the first years and they're getting involved with the people who've lived there before, they're already assessing their abilities. Is when they do their first year introduction nights in the common rooms. There's people sitting there taking note of what instruments these people play and what sports these people are really good at. Because someday these notes may come back to build a decent roster for a Winter Carnival team. So right from the very first time that you meet everybody in September, you're moving along into trying to build a really strong team. It's like everything you look at is building towards that team mentality that you're going to need when you're in Winter Carnival. It's one of those things that to anybody outside of residence wouldn't mean anything at all, and they would never understand the fuss about it. But it's once you move in and people have explained to you and you see how important it is to these people who've been here before and done it before that it starts to become a really big deal. And as the pressure builds as you get closer to the actual big day, it can get pretty intense.
Seems like as a resident student, whether you are aware of it or not, Winter Carnival is kind of woven into the whole year-long kind of housing process. Whether you know it or not as a first year, it's in the back of people's minds.
Well, it is, and
it absolutely is.
Right from the beginning they do, because at least during Winter Carnival there's going to be some event where every member of your society can put a stamp on something that's been produced by your house.
Yeah, definitely.
There are a lot of people who might feel left out from certain events, maybe people who don't do certain things, people who aren't interested in sports, people who aren't interested in music, but when Winter Carnival actually comes out, there's something for everybody to do. So at the end of your first year in residence, your fourth year in residence, you can look back and say there was something that I did that actually made a big difference while I was there, and that I got to have an impact while I was living in residence.
Yeah, it's I never really competed in anything in Winter Carnival, but I helped the boys paper mache and paint the sled, and I helped paint the other stuff, and I helped do this, that, and the other thing. So I get what you're definitely right. I'm happy with my Winter Carnival experience, Yeah, cool. So what do you think the impact is on the new Super Res for Winter Carnival, Ponch?
Well, the new Super Res is going to offer some pretty stiff competition this year. They're working with a lot larger number. They have a much bigger population in the buildings, coming up against societies that traditionally made up of 100 members. You're looking at 2 new societies that are going to come in with 250 team members. So you're already looking at people who are actually really good at sports who are being turned away from the teams because the lists are full of people who are absolutely stellarly good. So you have a much bigger pool to dip from when you're trying to build a team. So, I mean, you're looking at a much stiffer competition. They won't have necessarily the years of tradition and the years of, like, backstories and senior members of the society grading in how important this is. So there is going to be a bit of a different atmosphere over there, but realistically, they're probably going to put together some pretty strong, heavy team against every event.
The potential is absolutely there.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the potential is definitely there, but how well they execute it is the question. How well organized they are.
Well, anybody will tell you that Residence is built by the students who've been there before.
Exactly.
They're there to show you how everything is done and to ingrain in the importance of things and to show people what you have to do in order to continue with the traditions and the degree of excellence which you inherited by moving into whatever building you happen to live in.
Right.
So, what we would like to ask basically is, from what you've talked about, what have you kind of noticed that's changed over the course of the time that you've been involved in Winter Carnival? Do you see things changing and evolving? It's kind of going to lead into my next question.
Yeah, well, I guess everything there's a fluency to everything. It's like everything is changing and evolving, and some stuff that we held as primordially important was sort of phased out in the years after we left, and things do change, and what I like to see is that the focus is still on Winter Carnival, and when Winter Carnival comes down in the second semester, everybody brings their A game, and people are willing to clock 10 hours a day volunteering, painting something or building something or practicing something. You have kids out there at 6 o'clock in the morning practicing tossing eggs back and forth in the parking lot because it is important. It may never be important again, but today it is important.
So are you optimistic about where Winter Carnival is going? What are your sentiments towards the future of Winter Carnival when we're all long gone?
Well, I know Winter Carnival started, I guess this is the 51st Winter Carnival. And what's cool is that when my mom lived in residence, she was in residence for the first Winter Carnival. So when I moved here in my first year, she thought it was really cool that it was something we still did. Because back in the day, it was just something that you did to fill the time of people. You did something to fill the time of the people who didn't go home for the long weekend in February. It was something just to kill that time until more than half of the people returned to the city. There were a lot less people living on campus. The residence community was a much bigger segment of the student population, and Winter Carnival was a huge event. It developed through the years to still be a huge event, but involve all kinds of different things. They've phased out a lot of the very heavy alcoholic beverage consumption events. They've phased out a lot of the physical events and replaced them with ones that we wouldn't have even heard of back then. Some of the cool
video game tournament this year.
Which is cool. I know your year that they included a Guitar Hero segment.
Yes.
At the time, Guitar Hero was huge. It's not a thing anymore, so it won't be included, but there's going to be something come up to take its place. When I was the first year, we had a karaoke segment in Winter Carnival. That was pretty cool. We didn't do it anymore because in the subsequent years we wouldn't have had as much interest in it.
Karaoke's always cool, though, so I mean, that's where I stand on that. The cops. So, Ponch, what advice would you want to give to the teams competing this year in Winter Carnival? What's the key? The key, really? What's the key to victory?
Well, in my time during Winter Carnival, is either participating in it as a member of a house or participating in it as a volunteer, putting it together for all these houses later on. Is that there's no amount of work that you're going to do where you should feel satisfied because you aren't finished. There's 1,000 things on your list to do, and this is going to require all of the spare time that you have. You're going to have to bring your A game 100% of the time. There's no room for any laziness on a Winter Carnival team. It will cost you the points, because in the end, we've seen teams, our team especially, win by less than 3 points. Yeah. Every little thing counts. If your team shows up late to an event, it could cost you Winter Carnival. So every little thing, every spot of effort that you can put in, everything that you can devote to the cause is what it's going to need, because it's going to take everybody giving everything and bringing their A game 100% of the time. If you're not willing to work for it, then you aren't going to win it.
That's very diligent, to say the least.
Hey man, well I mean he was there winning 5, so you can't expect the advice to be poor.
So what we tend to ask of you now, as well as we asked Emma in classes, what would be that one thing that you think should coexist with Winter Carnival for so long as Winter Carnival exists? What's the one thing that you think needs to stay with Winter Carnival? What is that kind of essence?
There's a family atmosphere that happens in residence, and you can build it however you like. You can build it through team building exercises, you can build it through shared activities, you can build it through fundraising activities, any number of things that get people working together and get people to know each other and get people to be friends. Because at the end of the day, when you're dealing with your friends and you need to ask them to help you with some ridiculous task, it's very different than if you're dealing with somebody who you only ever talk to during Winter Carnival. You guys have built relationships here, and you're more prone to answer the phone if I need you at 4 o'clock in the morning. Whereas, if somebody was less important to you, you might just ignore a message. What you need to realize right from the beginning is that everybody has their own stuff going on, and if you're going to want all of their spare time, you're going to need to make it worth it for them. You're not paying these people, you're not reimbursing them for their time in any way at all. What you need to do is make them feel like they're part of the team and this is a common goal, and when they win their Winter Carnival, they will have accomplished something. So putting together a team and making that the team's goal right from the very beginning, from day one when they move into residence, from day one for off-campus societies when they first walk into